join the mail with the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know,
OMOWALE.
join the mail with the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mail with the info show. It's the info, man. You can call it information, info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. We talk to that from you so good.
It's less than love.
Oh, mixing African doga. Info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mail with the info show. It's the info. It's the mail with the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mail with the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mail with the info show. It's the info. We got the info.
It's less than love.
So come join the mail with the info show. Making knowledge all over this nation. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. You talk to that from me so good. S-6-O mixing African doga.
OMOWALE.
Yep, I'm here, brother.
Okay, everybody, we got brother OMOWALE on with me. We're going to be talking about this great organization, Afrocentricity International, with brother OMOWALE, their mission, the organization, what the organization is about, and what their aims and goals are. We're going to get into this conversation. I want to thank everybody that has come into the chat room, everyone that is watching out there right now. I know it is a holiday or whatever we call it. I'm not a big holiday person, as some of you may know. Let me give some love for those that are here, because I know folks are with their families. Well, we got Gab Talk Media in there. I see my man George Makem. Glad to see you over here, brother. We got Matt D, K Hill, and those that are here with us, thank you. I'm sure others will come in on board as the night goes on. It is a holiday night, so folks are with their family. But we're going to get right into this discussion with this brother. I first discovered OMOWALE with Brother George's channel. And I love Brother George Makem. He is a powerful brother. He speaks truth to power. And this is where I first laid eyes and heard this brother OMOWALE speak. And this brother is powerful. And I think we should we've got to support that which is positive. And I think we all should support this organization. As I begin to talk to this brother and learn about this organization and have this brother break down what are the mission statements of the organization, what is the goals and objectives. Now, let me just say this. I had a chance to watch read some of their material and watch a video. And one of the things we have to agree with is that as African people, as Black people, we are in attack. We are being attacked on all fronts. We're being attacked economically, socially, politically, mentally, and physically in some cases, because they're killing Black men in the streets. They're incarcerating us. They're trying to incarcerate our minds, our bodies, our spirit. And so, Brother OMOWALE, I'm going to definitely speak with him and pick his brain as to what once again are the goals and aims of Afrocentricity International. I think everyone who's here, who's coming into the chat room, I see Bomb, I see Gigi, I see Malcolm M. Hope people will come in step by step. And with that said, let me remove the avatar that you see on the screen and introduce this brother properly, because Brother OMOWALE is a great brother. Let me clap for him. Here I am, and Brother OMOWALE, how you doing, brother, for being here? I appreciate you being here. I want to apologize to you that it has taken so long for us to finally get together. I've had a lot going on. I've had a lot of live streams that I had scheduled with different folks, but there was no doubt that I wanted to definitely get you on talk to you, interview you, pick your brain. But brother, how are you doing right now on this quote unquote holiday?
I'm doing good, brother. Information, man. First and foremost, just want to thank you for having me on the show. I always want to give thanks to my brother George Macon, because if it wasn't for his platform and for him allowing me to come on to teach and to speak, a lot of people in this YouTube world wouldn't know of me. So I'm appreciative of him. And I'm appreciative of you having me on your show this evening. Looking forward to doing it.
Appreciate you too, brother. Let me say something here. Let's just say this, brother. I was very impressed with you when I first heard you on George Macon's show. Well-spoken, very powerful, brother. You have a grasp of the issues that face Black people in this country. You have a good grasp of what's happening over in the continent of Africa. I love that. And what I'm trying to do with my channel here is I want to reach out to brothers and sisters that are like-minded, that are positive, that want what is best for our people at the end of the day. And so I have no problem with reaching out and also giving my support to an organization that is doing something that is in the best interest of our people. And that's the bottom line. So with that said, brother, can you tell everybody out there a little bit about yourself? As much as you would like to tell us, you don't have to get too personal, but tell us the things that you think that are most important.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Go right ahead, brother.
Yeah, so my name is Brother OMOWALE. I'm an organizer with Afrocentricity International, an organization based in the Philadelphia area, or headquartered in the Philadelphia area. We are a global organization. I've been working with the org for about the past year.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I served as the president of the international headquarters for Marcus Garvey's UNIA. I have about 13 years total combined organizing experience that ranges from community organizations, nonprofit, and student organizations. And as of right now, I'm really just using all of my talents, my skills, and my resources to be about the work of African liberation. And I know that is work that cannot be done as an individual. I know that is an organizational effort. So as a result, I found a home in Afrocentricity International. And I'm doing my part to bring about what we refer to as the African Renaissance in our organization.
African Renaissance. Can you tell me what is an African Renaissance mean to you, brother?
Renaissance really just means to bring back full circle, right? To make us whole again. One of the things that we always say is we're serious about restoring the sacredness of African people. We think that over the past 500 years, there's been a pretty deliberate, unrelenting, and uncompromising PR campaign against African people. It's demonized us. It's demonized our practices. It's demonized our culture, and it's pretty much written us out of history. So we feel as though in order for a renaissance to take place, in order for us to regain, our footing on the world stage, it's going to take just as equal a concerted and uncompromising effort on behalf of African people to bring about the type of consciousness that will usher in that type of reality for our people across the globe.
Okay. Can you let the good people out there know, if I don't know if I asked you this yet or not, brother, how did Afrocentricity get founded? What is its origins?
So the organization was founded back in 2011 by Dr. Molefi Asante and Dr. Ama Mazama. They founded the organization just based on the principles of, if you're familiar with Marcus Garvey's UNIA.
Yes.
They looked around and they didn't see an organization that was currently working adequately to bring together the efforts that were being made, like on a local they didn't see anything that currently existed to organize the efforts of African people globally, right? Not since like Marcus Garvey's UNIA have we had a Pan-African based organization that could organize the consciousness, organize the resources, organize people across languages, across borders. We haven't seen that since Marcus Garvey's UNIA. We know that you know, we all have our own local efforts that we're involved in, but we haven't seen anything that connects each of these localized efforts at the global level that can direct our attention and our focus towards solving particular problems that are, I guess, ailing, you know, the African community wherever we may be.
Okay.
So not seeing that, they decided to create it, and they started strategically, you know, outside of the U.S. Right. So as of right now, you know, it's a chapter organization, and we have chapters pretty much on every continent, with the exception of Antarctica. We have a significant presence on the African continent. We are growing in Europe. We have chapters in France, in Switzerland. We have chapters in Germany. And the U.S. is kind of like where we are now, really trying to establish a strong foothold. But like I said, you know, we're a growing organization, and we're looking for people to, you know, to join, learn more about what we're doing, and figure out how they can get involved.
Okay. What are some of the pitfalls, or some of the, are you experiencing any pushback or resistance from either other Black people or Europeans, or just people in general? What kind of pushback are you getting?
Well, I think that as an organizer, especially as someone who is trying to organize Black people, there's always going to be that dual conflict, right? You're going to be fighting people outside of the community, right, who are trying to prevent you from organizing your people to establish power. And you're also going to be fighting people, you know, internally in your own community, who, you know, due to their consciousness, due to their level of understanding, whatever the case may be, you know, they may, you know, fight against you to prevent you from being successful as well. So I think that there's always going to be, you know, those two layers of conflict that you have to engage in whenever you're looking to organize people.
Okay. Let me say, good to see you, Silks BB Scratcher. Zachary, good to see you in the chat room. Tony Smith, good to see you back. Tony Smith, you're becoming a regular, brother. Involve, good to see you, King Hebrew. So we got folks coming in step at a time. Let me ask you a question. I know this is a pretty typical question that you would get from most people, but how does one go about joining and getting involved? For example, I'm in California. You said the base of the organization, as it relates to being founded here in the States, is in Philadelphia. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm in California, 3,000 miles away or what have you. If I wanted to join Afrocentricity, how would I be able to make an impact living in such a far distance?
Okay, so what I would say is this: Afrocentricity is a network-based or chapter-based organization. So the way that we grow and the way that we establish our footprint is through establishing chapters. So if we don't currently have a chapter in your region, then we would either encourage you to try to set up or establish a chapter.
Yes.
And if you're not able to establish a chapter, maybe establish a study group that can serve as the springboard for which a chapter can kind of form out of at a later date. One of the biggest challenges that we have as an organization, for instance, for us, right, we have 4 areas or 4 axes that we work across, right? So for us, it's economics, spirituality, intellectuality or intellectualism, and I always forget the 4th one, politics, right? So the spirituality part of what we do as an organization plays a significant role. One of the things that we are really looking to do is to see a reemergence in African spirituality. As a result, that particular tenet of our organization oftentimes puts us in conflict with some of the resources that are, you know, within our community. For example, if you look back at Marcus Garvey's UNIA, Garvey had a significant access to the Black church, right, as a place where we could organize our people, right? So as an organization that's trying to bring our people out of Christianity, that's trying to bring about a reemergence of African spirituality, we run into that conflict with the Black church, where we don't see that as a space that we could be housed as an organization, and it not be a glaring, you know, contradiction, you know, based upon our mission and where we are housed at, right? It would like be the equivalent of a Black Power organization trying to be housed in a police station, right? You can't do that. So as a result, growing the chapters is somewhat difficult, right? Because in order to establish a chapter, you need a public space where you could call a meeting, right, where the public can come and be a part of the organization. So if you don't have that, we recommend our people to essentially start with a private study group and try to grow the study group to the point that it will, form into a chapter, of its own initiative and will.
Okay. So so let me ask you something around the issues of political power, because when I was watching the video, that to me, the thing that stuck out the most is that as Black people, we need economic power, we need political power, and we definitely need spiritual healing. Can you explain some of what your organization engages in as it relates to reinforcing the importance of political power? What are you all involved in the political side of this?
So when we created this organization, or when Dr. Asante and Dr. Mazama created this organization, what they had in mind was that Afrocentricity International as an organization would fall under the umbrella of the Molefi Kete Asante Institute. And the Molefi Kete Asante Institute operates as a think tank within the Black community, right? It's a think tank that's organized around the principles of Afrocentricity. So from a political perspective, the goal would be for us to create research, write white papers, whatever is necessary to influence politics at a regional, national, or even federal level, wherever African people are. For an example, right, you have think tanks all the time that put out papers, right? And the purpose of these papers are basically to influence politics or influence political decisions. So from that perspective, that's where we currently operate from a political perspective. But again, excuse me.
It's okay.
Again, to also answer the question, I think if we broaden the definition of the term politics, right?
Yes.
Politics to me is just activities that we engage in to obtain or maintain power, right? So if we make that the definition of politics, then everything that we do as an organization is about obtaining and maintaining power for African people.
Okay. Can we get to, can you explain the spiritual side of the organization? How do you, I saw in the video where the guy was asking the lady about the practice of voodoo, the religious practice, and how other religious practices are recognized in this country, or it's funded, it's recognized. I don't know how that plays into the organization just in a general sense, but the spirituality, can you expand upon that? And maybe you can expand upon that footage of the video, make everyone listening understand a little bit of where that was going there. Absolutely.
So from a spiritual perspective, we have as a basic tenet the belief that African society, African civilization will never be restored, right, without a return to African spirituality. Black people globally, well, no matter where we are, will never obtain power as a group without a return to African spirituality, without us reasserting our ancestors as the central figures in our life, without us going back and reclaiming the traditions and practices of our ancestors, right? And the reason why we believe that is because we know, first and foremost, we know that religion is political, right? So these religions were imposed on us for the purpose of subjugating and dominating us. And as a result, and the process of imposing these religions on us to facilitate the theft of our land and the theft of our resources, it required the oppressors or the individuals who came into the continent, the individuals who stole us from the continent and enslaved us here in the Western Hemisphere, it required for them to demonize the practices of our ancestors, to the point that today when we hear words like Voodoo, right away we're scared of it because there's been so much propaganda associated with the word or with the term that it's completely demonized. Now people don't want to touch it at all. So the clip on the video that you're referring to, it was in our promo video. We used a segment from CNN had a series called Believe, and they were going into different atmospheres and discussing with practitioners their beliefs.
Yes.
And the sister, that particular clip in the video was discussing how in Haiti, it's challenging for people who practice voodoo or practice the indigenous beliefs to gain access to resources, because all the resources are tied to outside entities, right? So they're either tied to outside governments or they're tied to outside private organizations like the Catholic Church, right? And as a condition to gain access to those resources, our people have to basically abandon, their beliefs, because if they don't embrace Christianity, or if they don't embrace, for instance, if we're speaking from a secular perspective, with money that's attached to governments, well, you could say if they don't embrace homosexuality, well, then they may not be able to get access to U.S. government aid, right? Or if they don't embrace abortions or Planned Parenthood, then they may not be able to gain access to this outside aid. So what we're saying is, with this fund that we created, the African Heritage and Cultural Preservation Fund, we are basically trying to create the conditions so that our people cannot be economically exploited and forced to operate on someone else's terms, right? If you can feed yourself, if you can clothe yourself, if you can protect yourself, then you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and say, hey, you need to abandon your religion. You need to throw away your ancestors, and you need to throw away your culture, because if you don't, then I'm not going to give you, the resources that you need to survive. So what we're trying to do with the fund is actually create a reality where our people can be self-sustaining and self-protecting, so that our practices and our beliefs can flourish.
Well, brother, let me just say this about the African spirituality. What people giving it, this is Christmas, right? I was reading a book. Where's this book I've got? It's a book about holidays and the little secrets behind them, the little dirty secrets behind the holidays. And one of the things that blew me away, I was doing a live stream the other night, and I was reading that it was 10 centuries, about 1,000 years after the birth of Christ, before they even came up with the term Christmas, right? And everybody has debate about, is the 25th of December the day that Jesus was born? And in this book, they said that what happened is all these religious figures, these bishops, they were arguing. Do you know that they were arguing over to have it on November 17th, April 9th, January this? They were arguing over where to have it, and a particular religious bishop said, no, I want it to be on the 25th, because this is what I want. I hold the power. So what I'm saying to you is that these concepts in America are created, and they're stolen from African spirituality. So we must always ask ourselves, before you had Christianity, I don't know what religion you are, I don't want to step on any toes here, brother, but before there was Christianity or Islam or what have you, we have to understand Black people, our ancestors have been here for thousands of years. What were they practicing before these religions? Because Black people have been on this earth longer than these religions were even here. And we know that a lot of the stuff that we see in religion and around the world is nothing but African spirituality that's been twisted around. That the Europeans are really good at taking things from other people, distracting it, stealing it, robbing it, and twisting it into something else. And then they feed it back to us. In the case of the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus image, they feed us a false, what I would say, a false God or a false image, to make us feel that slavery is what God wanted us to be, slaves. And so that's why I'm basically saying I'm running off the mouth here, but I'm saying this for the fact that African spirituality and getting back to our origins and our roots, I believe, is the most important thing that we need to re-nourish ourselves emotionally and mentally, because in America, we have been so bombarded with so many images of who we are, what we are, and what we should be worshiping as the image, worshiping the image of those that have oppressed our people. What do you think about what I said, if it made any sense to you?
No. I agree 100%. Let me just give you an example.
Okay.
African people here in the U.S., right? This is a little known fact, but African people here in the U.S. up until the turn of the 20th century, we largely practice African spirituality.
Can you repeat that again for everybody? Repeat that again, brother. That's
no up until the turn of the 20th century, African people in what's referred to as the United States of America largely practiced African spirituality. There was a significant campaign to get us to embrace Christianity. During the 19th century, during the time of like the AME, the African Methodist Episcopal Church with like Richard Allen and those folks, you have to remember that they were, you know, free African people. They were somewhat, I don't want to use the term elite, but they were free, and their goal was to live more like, you know, the Christian white men here in America. But the masses of Black people who were enslaved, it's complete mythology to say that that they were just practicing Christians, you know, on the plantation. In fact, Du Bois in his book Souls of Black Folks.
Oh yes,
he has a chapter. I think the chapter is called "The Religion of Our Fathers." It's chapter 10. If you get a chance, definitely go check it out. But he talks about how the roots of Christianity here in America are rooted in voodoo, meaning the first Black church here in America is rooted in voodoo. He talks about that. Then I can get it for you if you want me to. That's
wait a minute. You just wait a minute. I gotta take all this in, brother. So you're saying that in the book, he's saying that the first Black church as we know it,
yes,
they had a religion, they had a voodoo religious practice. That was the first church.
Yes, yeah. It was European in form, but African in spirit.
Okay.
Right. So it's referred to, the process is referred to as syncretism, right? Where on the outer shell it appears to be one thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it may appear to be Christianity on the outer shell, but inwardly, those who have eyes to see that it's something completely different, right? So this is Du Bois. I have the book over here. I wish I could just tell you the chapter really quick.
No, go ahead. We got time, brother. This is what I wanted.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna grab it for you. 1 second.
No problem at all. We got time. So as you can see, everybody out there, Brother OMOWALE is a very deep brother. He's gonna get a book that he has around this issue, and he's gonna read some passages from the book and give us some insight into this area. This is new information for me, everybody. I don't know how many of you out there in the chat room have heard about this. If you have, put a 1 in the chat room if you heard about this information, this history, as the brother was just speaking upon, and he's going to get the chapter in the book and read it to you. So if any of you have heard what this brother has just mentioned, put a 1 in the chat room. And I see you, Life Machine Power. I see you, Art. Good to see you. Good to see you, brothers, here. I thank you for your support being here. This is wonderful. Good to see you all in there. I hope that this is an enlightening live stream tonight. And I see my man. Okay, so of course George Macomb knows about it. Oh, Gigi knows about it. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So the chapter is chapter 10. It's called "Of the Faith of Our Fathers" is the name of the chapter.
Okay.
And if you read, it's on page 138. Well, it actually starts on page 137, but it goes into 138. But I'll read just the last part here on 138 for you.
Okay. Audience. All right. Appreciate it, brother.
It says, it was this horrific social revolution, and yet some traces were retained of the former group life and the chief remaining institution was the priest or the medicine man. He early appeared on the plantation and found his function as the healer of the sick, the interpreter of the unknown, the comforter of the sorrowing, the supernatural avenger of wrong, and the one who rudely but picturesquely expressed the longing, disappointment, and resentment of a stolen and oppressed people. Thus, as bard, physician, judge, and priest, within the narrow limits allowed by the slave system, rose the Negro preacher. And under the first church was not as first by any means. I want to repeat this here. He says, and under him, the first church was not at first by any means Christian, nor definitely organized. I want you to hear what he's saying here.
Okay.
He's saying that the first church, right? He says under the first church, under him, the first church was not by any means Christian, nor definitely organized. Rather, it was an adaptation and mingling of heathen rites among the members of each plantation, and roughly designated as voodooism. Association with the master's missionary effort and motives of expediency gave these rites an early veneer of Christianity, and after the lapse of many generations, the Negro church became Christian. Right?
So in the beginning, because we often hear this spoken upon all the time, that black people have always been Christian, that Christianity was in Africa. So you've heard these sort of narratives before. But I've never, this is new information for me. So this is enlightening for me tonight to hear this information. And we do know historically that black people, when we came here, we always created something out of nothing. We always created something. We always had this spirituality that came over with us. It was always in our ancestry. But matter of fact, I have a great uncle. He's not with us anymore, but he was Geisha, and he had these sort of people in the family thought he was kind of strange, but he was into herbs, and he had a sort of Yoda, energy to him, and he had his own way that he looked at spirituality. He wasn't a man that was focused on religion. He was more focused on spirituality, because religion is something that's organized, right? Spirituality is something that we all carry within inside of us in one way or another. But that's powerful. That's a powerful passage, brother.
Yeah. I mean, there's a book called The Religious Instruction of the Negro from 1804 to 1863.
Wow.
And it starts in 1804 for a reason. That's the year, the Haitians got their independence. And during this period of time, the white men in this country saw African people in the U.S. practicing African spirituality as a threat to national security, right? So for us becoming Christian was a matter for them of national security, right? They said we can't have these people practicing this faith that gives them power to fight, that gives them group camaraderie, right? That gives them unity of purpose against us, right? So there was a purposeful attack against our spirituality in this country to bastardize it, to demonize it, to tear it down. And even as late as 1890, you can Google this, there was a conference held called the Mohonk Conference on the Negro Question. It's Mohonk spelled M-O-H-O-N-K, the Mohonk Conference on the Negro Question. And the former president at the time, Rutherford B. Hayes, was the person presiding over the conference. And he starts the conference by reading an essay, and he's basically making the argument that the large majority of Negroes in this country, meaning those of us who live down in the southern states,
yes,
were practicing voodoo, right? And they saw, and this is in 1890. Right?
1890, folks. 1890.
10 years before the turn of the 20th century. You know what I mean? So like the black church as we know it today really gets its legs, in the early 20th century. And again, it gets its legs because there was a significant campaign. There was a lot of resources behind it, especially with the Great Migration, as our people from about 1911 to about 1972 were leaving the South. And as they were leaving the South, they certain practices were associated with the slave condition, right? So as they got to these northern cities, a part of their new heritage in the North was really being a part of a church, because what church you were a part of meant, you were of the who's who. places like DC, right, the black elite, the way that they governed the town was like through the black church. So you had to either be associated with a black church or a black fraternal organization, or some type of, maybe even a black Masonic order. But in order to be a part of like the black elite, like you had to be within one of these spheres. So as our people were leaving from the South to get to these northern cities and the cities in the West, and central the United States, like Illinois, Chicago, Indiana, when they're getting to these places, they are letting go of their African spirituality because it's being looked down upon. You know what I mean? So that's how it became a thing in like the 20th century.
Let me ask you this question, brother. Have you ever seen a movie called Daughters of the Dust?
I haven't.
Oh, God. Well, I might be a little bit older than you. It came out many years ago. It's kind of the same thing. It was a movie where it was basically the Geechee, the Gullah. It was basically a movie where the younger generation was moving to the North and getting all sophisticated with trying to assimilate into American society. It was during the 1900s. And then you had the great grandmother who was trying to make them realize to hang on to their culture, hang on to who they were, their spirituality. So there was a struggle between the generation that was trying to assimilate into the North and and trying to adhere to their cultural norms of being Geechee. And it sort of was in that same vein where they said that you have to, your ancestors travel with you, your ancestors are you. Okay. I personally believe that our ancestors are alive. They're alive in us because we all carry the DNA in our bodies of our ancestors. So this is very powerful information. And brother, you're familiar with the fact that the United States owes its, this country owes its formation. It owes its everything to the Haitian Revolution, because if it had not been for that, the French would have never been able to get the whole middle half of this country that the French controlled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always, for instance, 2019, right? We're going into 2019, and they're going to take our people for a significant head spin, with this whole 400-year biblical narrative, So I like to talk about the formation, right? Because you have to remember that there were 3 nations contending for these colonies. You had the Spanish, you had the French, and you had the British Empire, right? So the Spanish had what's referred to as like Spanish Florida, but then they had the entire west coast of the country via what was then Mexico. The French had the entire center of the country, right? And they sold it to Napoleon in 1808 via the Napoleon sold it to the U.S. in 1808 via the Louisiana Purchase, because the French had succumbed significant financial losses due to the Haitians, the African people who formed the nation of Haiti, revolting and gaining their independence. And then you had the British, who had their 13 colonies along the East Coast. Now, oftentimes, as Black people in America, especially here today, we tie our history to one of those 3 nations. And what we do today in America is we link our personal history to the British. So we say, well, we've only been here since 1619. But that's not accurate, right? Because yes, it's true that the British brought 19 enslaved or 20 some odd enslaved Africans here in 1619. Yes, it's true that the French brought enslaved Africans here in 1711. However, the Spanish brought enslaved Africans here in 1526. You know what I mean? So how do we decide when this 400-year marker starts? And in order for us to use that 400-year marker, we have to separate ourselves from our brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, right? Because we know that the Spanish brought Africans to Haiti as early as 1502, right? So why don't we start at 1502? We know that the first Africans were brought out of Europe by the Europeans. I mean, were brought out of Africa and shipped into Europe. And I say by the Europeans because at the time when the Moors had conquered Spain, they already had a slave route going from Africa up into Europe, where they were going into the African continent and kidnapping our ancestors who practiced African spirituality
Exactly.
Moors were under Islam. So
Yeah.
for them, if our ancestors were not Muslim, then they were fair game to be kidnapped and enslaved, right? So my point is, why start at 16, 19? And for me, that just proves that we don't understand the formation of this nation, because we are tying our history
To the British.
to the British.
Okay, let me ask you this. We're gonna get into it tonight with the time that you have, brother, and I appreciate you being here, brother Omowale. Let me ask you this. I want to get your opinion on this. You see it on YouTube. You see these debates. Many people are debating about whether we come from Africa, whether we're Hebrew Israelite, whether we are Aborigine from here in America, whether we're Moors. I have my opinions on these things. Whether we're Moors, whether we're this, we're that, and then there's some of us that will say, I don't want to go back to Africa because they sold us into slavery, when we know that the Portuguese, the Europeans, and the Arabs, and you had some that turned our back on us in the continent of Africa, in those countries, Africans that were implicit in their involvement in these areas. And we know that everyone was involved with this triangular slave trade, because the world at that time was hooked on sugar, and they were having these sugar plantations, because sugar, I had just interviewed the Minister of Wellness, Brother Nathaniel Jordan, just yesterday. Yesterday. And he talked about how sugar is just as addictive as crack cocaine. So you say that at one time sugar was the world's crack cocaine, which added to this slave trade that was going on. With that said, I said a whole bunch of stuff there, but I want to get your opinions about some of what you hear, all this sort of tribalism of, I'm over in this group and you're over in this group. And what are your thoughts about that? Because I have a singular thought or philosophy about this that will put an end to the whole debate in one nutshell. Go right ahead, brother.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a Pan-Africanist. You know what I mean? So I believe that we are all African people.
Okay.
The Moors, historically, I'm talking about the historic Moors.
Yes.
These weren't African people. They were referred to as Moors by the people in Europe. That's where we get the term from. We get the term from reading historical European texts, and we understand that when the authors of these texts, who were Europeans, were writing about these African people who were in Europe, who had conquered Spain in 711, they referred to them as Moors, right? But these were these weren't African people, essentially, right?
Yes.
So the people who refer to themselves as Moors here in the diaspora today, I don't really necessarily get into the bickering with them, so to speak, because for me, micro identity is a trap, right? The Moors fall into the same trap, in my opinion. And when I mean the Moors, I mean the people who are referring to themselves as Moors today here in the diaspora, who are the descendants of those Africans who were enslaved here and what we know as the United States of America. I think it's a trap to basically, latch on to a micro identity, right? So the Hebrews, right? They looked in the Bible in the late 19th century, right? Because this is where the Hebrew Israelite doctrine traces itself to. It traces itself to the late 19th century. They looked in the Bible and they said these people have a story that is similar to what we're experiencing here, under slavery. So as a result, we are these people, right? That's how how that doctrine came about, right? They attach themselves to an identity.
Yes.
The Moors, which is more of a early 20th century phenomenon that came about. But again, people look at episodes within history and they understand, okay, well, there were some African people who had conquered Spain. We know that these African people were seafaring people, and we have evidence that these people actually were traveling back and forth, but between the American continent and Europe, and even Africa and the American continent before the Europeans. So these people say, okay, well, we're the Moors. Then you have the Aboriginals, who are a newer phenomenon, and this is just more African people attaching themselves to different episodes throughout history. But for me, I feel like they're all doing it to stake some type of claim to this land here in America. And I understand, the desire to stake claim. You know what I mean? For me, I don't have to embrace an identity beyond being an African to stake claim here to America. Why is that? Because the blood and the bones of my ancestors are buried in this dirt. Generations and generations and generations of my ancestors were enslaved here. They lived here, they breathed here, they ate here, and they died here. So I have just as much, stake to this land as anyone else. But it doesn't negate the fact that my origins, just like the origins of the African people who are in Haiti, just like the origins of the African people from Jamaica, just like the origins of the African people who are in Canada, just like the origins of the African people who are in the UK, all tie back to the African continent. And for me, that is what unifies us, where we were picked up from, not where we were dropped off at. So that's where I come from with it.
Okay. Well, I remember when I was in school, I had a chance to study under Dr. Richards, Obata, Wade Nobles, and the great late Dr. Philip McGee, who I took a course with about melanin. And that's why I'm going to go down this road. And what I've learned, I read a great book, the great book from the great Ivan van Sertima, The Came Before Columbus, 800 BC. That's a powerful book. He talks about the African presence in this part of the world. Africans knew how to travel. They were traveling over here for many years. And they've even have found pottery, Egyptian pottery here in this land. So there was they were traveling, they were exchanging knowledge with each other. They've even discovered that they believe that some of the pyramids that you see in parts of South America, they believe that there was some sort of exchange of technology between Black people in the continent of Africa, between those in South America. We were coming over and exchanging this technology. And this is my opinion, brother, because I'm a student of studying. I studied melanin. This is how I look at it. To me, it is a non-story to say that we're from here, we're from there, we're from all these places that are here on Earth, because this planet and this universe was created by melanin, dark matter. We as Black people are dark matter. We come from the universe because black holes, black holes, or the Bang theory, as they call it, God-given, is made up of melanin, which is why melanin is in your ears, it's in your ears, your eyes, your hair, your pigment. It's in the water that you drink. Without understanding melanin, you can't understand any other kind of science on this planet. Without that, that's the beginning of all the science. And so if we are the most melanated people on this planet, then the whole goddamn planet belongs to us, the whole damn universe. I mean, they've done digs where they have found Black people, the bones of Black people in this land, in what we call Israel, all over the damn place. Every time they're digging, they're finding somebody Black. They're finding us all over the damn planet. So that's my attitude about it. I just feel like we're from the universe. We were created by the universe, and therefore we're from everywhere. We can make a claim to the whole planet because the whole planet is ours. That's just my opinion on the level of looking at it from being a melanated person, and how melanin is actually what created this solar system that we live in and this damn planet that we're in. So I don't know what your thoughts are about what I just said, brother, but that's just my opinion. Or no,
I think that, I understand that perspective. It's one that I hear a lot. And for me, the only challenge that I would give to that, or just consideration that I would ask you to take into mind,
yes,
is that the institution that governs society,
yes,
the institution that maintains our survival,
yes,
is the institution of family, right?
yes.
And when you look at the world today, it really is just, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, we're just all one big human family. Like, I don't, I make distinctions.
I don't subscribe to that either, brother.
Okay, so the reason why I say this is, yes, it is true that African people, you know, we are the first people on this planet. Everyone else comes from our loins. Yes, it is true that we were everywhere on this planet before the other people that are, you know, currently here. But I think that it's equally true that right now, today, and for the past, you know, let's say 10,000 years, I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number here, there has been distinct human groups across this planet, right?
Yes.
And for me, if you don't have, you know, a nation that can secure the interests of the African family, then African people everywhere will continue to be at risk. And for me, this is what I mean by when I say to myself that I am a Pan-African nationalist. The Pan-African in me is saying that first and foremost, I identify as an African, but from a political perspective, it's my goal to work with other Africans across this globe for the liberation of African people.
Yes.
Right. But the nationalist in me says that African people, no matter where they are on this globe, need a place of origin, need a piece of land, need a nation that is strong enough to protect their interests. And as of right now, we don't have that. As of right now, we reside in the houses of the people who formerly enslaved us. Even if you're in somewhere like Jamaica, yeah, you may be the majority there, but the reality is it's still a member. Jamaica is still a member country of the British. I think it's called the British community or whatever it's called. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the French community, and it's the Commonwealth, right? So Jamaica is still a Commonwealth.
It's the Commonwealth. That's right.
So the point that I'm arguing is that African people need to be about the business of creating a nation for themselves that is strong enough to secure the interests of African people everywhere. And for me, as a Garveyite, that nation has to be on the African continent. It does not have to be one of the countries that currently adheres to the administrative lines of the former colonizers, because for me, those African countries, as they currently exist for the sole purpose of facilitating the theft of the resources for external populations. Okay. However, I think that we need to have something created on that continent that is strong enough to secure our interests as a collective everywhere. And right now we don't have that anywhere. That's my perspective.
I'm glad that you said that, because this is where I want to go with this now. You know that the Chinese are in certain parts of Africa building for the infrastructure. Now, I'm not very trusting of what the Chinese are doing in the continent of Africa, because if you look at China, they're literally destroying the environment, and the air quality is terrible there. So they're coming as if they're doing this for economic reasons, right? And then they want to get a foothold into the continent. They're impregnating some of the women over there. And then I've been on panels where I've talked about, look, there's Black people who are talking about let's move there, places like Ghana, places like that, Kenya. And then there are those of us who say, hey, we should go and invest in the continent of Africa, invest in a country, right? Where do you stand on that issue? Because there's people that there's people that will criticize you, even Black people in America, your own people, that would say, I ain't going to no Africa. What are you talking about? We can't get it together over here. But my thing is, when you look at other groups who come from other countries that go to Africa, they buy property, they live over there a couple of times out of the year. It seems like, why is there such a problem with Black people in America going to Africa, buying land, buying infrastructure over there, doing whatever we want to do? Why is it that we get so much pushback when we might want to do that by our own people? But every other group, there's no problem with them coming over to the continent of Africa and setting up shop there and still having a connection to their home where they come from. Why can't Black people chew gum and ride a bike at the same time? Why can't we be international? or if that even makes sense.
No, I follow you 100%. So you asked where do I stand on that issue in terms of should we go there and invest, or should we repatriate to places like Ghana?
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's a twofold question. How about repatriation, and then how about economic investment? Because some people will argue that we shouldn't go there to live, but then you could turn around and say, well, wait a minute, why not? Why shouldn't we not invest? Because from what I'm hearing, and those that I've talked to who are actually from the continent, they're saying that they want black people from America to come over there and invest, and they would rather us invest than having to deal with, the usual suspects.
So just flat out, I'm going to say both need to be done, but I'm just going to ask you to allow me some nuance.
No, you can do it, brother. Come on.
And so, we do need to there needs to be repatriation.
Yes.
Not everyone needs to repatriate, right? Like, I think that's oftentimes they try to mischaracterize Marcus Garvey by pigeonholing his movement into a Back to Africa movement. That was not what Garvey was about. Yes, he was for some repatriation to the continent, right? He said that was necessary in order for us to build infrastructure on the continent, right? In order for us to create vehicles by which exchange can be done back and forth, it is going to require some of us to repatriate, right? So I'm good on repatriating. B, your second part, investing. I'm also good on investing. I agree that we should be pooling our dollars via organizations, via private or independent Black collectives for the purpose of investing on the African continent. Now, here's the caveat. The nuance to both investing and repatriation is this. On the African continent right now, you're not going to find a domicile that is organized based upon principles that will facilitate economic, political, or social flourishing for African people, right? So what I mean by that is, as an example, during the independence period of the late 50s, early 60s, during many of the revolutions that occurred during the 20th century, each of these revolutions were revolutions that were ideologically based. What do I mean by that? If you look at somewhere like the state of Israel right now, right? Yes. Israel is erected based upon the principle or ideology of Zionism. You look at Cuba. Cuba is erected based upon the principles or ideology of communism. You look at, the U.S., Russia, China. China is a nation that was erected based upon the ideological principles of communism, right? So whenever a new nation is erected or created, there needs to be some type of funding or ideological principle that erects that nation so that that nation can operate in the benefit of the people. Right now on the continent, there is no African nation that is erected ideologically so that it will serve the interests and benefit African people that currently reside there, or African people that are looking to repatriate, right? So that's the first part of that's the first element of nuance that I want to add.
Okay.
The second element of nuance that I want to add is when we are investing with U.S. money on the African continent, that's a really sticky situation. And the reason why I say that is because U.S. money, U.S. dollars are only based upon the fact that we believe globally that the U.S. will continue to function and operate as an empire, i.e., we believe that the U.S. will continue to dominate the globe, and dominate Africa, because the U.S. has military bases all over the African continent.
That's right.
So if you say that you are a Pan-Africanist and you are for the liberation of African people, it becomes an element of contradiction when your investment is secured by an entity that needs to maintain domination over the continent. You know what I mean? So that becomes a very sticky situation. And I don't think that that's something that's solved in the short term. And I'm not saying don't invest, because we have projects right now where we're looking to build on the African continent, right? The fund that we launched, the African Heritage and Cultural Preservation Fund, we're looking to raise $250K right now to erect an institution in the Ivory Coast. Why are we erecting this institution there? Because if you look at the Chinese have built and funded 48 Confucius Institutes all across the African continent.
Okay, let me say something right here. I was going to ask you to talk about the institution. This is the thing. You will have people in our community that will say to you, why are you building something in another country when we need something built here for Black people in America or for our youth? Now, this is the caveat that I'm going to give you. You just said it, brother. The Chinese they build things in their country, but they still manage to put their foothold in other parts of the world. So my question is, to that criticism, because you know it's out there, why the hell can Black people not only build things here in America for us, but why can't we be global and build things in other places, such as in the continent of Africa, when other groups can put their religious temples, their cultural images and philosophies and temples or buildings in other countries? But Black people, when we talk about this sort of stuff, you will get the criticism from some of us in our communities, and I say some, not all, who will say, wait a minute, why are you not building that here? When the problem is, as Black people, we can, like I said, we can chew gum, ride a bike, and skip rope at the same time. We can build here and also build and put our global footprint on the rest of the world. What do you think about that from that point of view, as Black people putting our global footprint, which our ancestors obviously did with Africans coming over here thousands of years ago? We've already been putting our global footprint around the world. So what's wrong with doing it in the 21st century?
Let me just say this, and this is for everybody listening, for the live audience, for people who are going to see the playback, for the podcast audience.
Yes.
If you are not building on the African continent, you are building on sand. I'm going to repeat what I just said.
Yes.
If you are not building on the African continent, you are building on sand. And what I mean by that is, when you say, why not just focus here on America, underlying that statement is several assumptions. The number one assumption that underlies that statement is that things as they currently exist here in America will continue to exist in this manner for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
And if you study history, if you study economic patterns and trends, that is not the reality. America is pending a significant economic crash. In addition to an economic crash here in this country, it's also undergoing currently economic adjustment, which means the way that you and I interface with this current economy will be changing in years to come. The number one way in which it'll change, well, the economy will be relying significantly larger on artificial intelligence, on robotic labor, on labor that does not involve you as a human being having a job, right? That's something that every other race of people right here in America right now is preparing for. That's why you see this significant resurgence of outward white nationalism and calls for protectionism. That's why they're saying build a wall, and that's why they're saying protect us economically, because they see what's to come. Yeah. Black people in America are the only ones who do not see what's to come, when the reality is every other nation, And this is the problem. We don't see ourselves as a nation, but every other nation right now is trying to get a foothold on the African continent. Trump just had his the guy Bolton, whatever his name is, had him just come out and make the statement that Africa is going to have to make a choice. Either Africa is going to be Team America or Africa is going to be Team China and Russia. You see the French president Macron going into the African continent, trying to make deals. You see the European Union trying to make deals with Rwanda and Kenya. You see China everywhere on the African continent. Every nation right now is on the African continent trying to get a foothold, because every nation understands that economically its survival is based upon whether or not it will have institutions that can facilitate economics on the African continent going into the future. If you don't have that, you don't have a means of survival.
Let me say this to you, brother, because that was powerful what you just said. Let me just say this, because I go back a little ways. I remember when the Apple computer first hit the scene, and people didn't know what to make of that little Apple computer when the first one came out with the floppy disk, right? And some people had the foresight back in those days to say, you know what, I want to invest in Apple computer. And the people who invested in Apple computer in the early days of when it first came out, and people were like, this personal computer stuff ain't gonna go nowhere. You had a lot of people criticizing the Apple computer, the little computer. Oh, this ain't gonna work. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's got a flop. Oh, this ain't gonna work. And there were people that invested in the Apple computer at the ground level. And guess what? Where is Apple computer at today? And the people who invested in that company in those early days and got the stock at cheap rates or cheap prices, some of those people are they're sitting somewhere in a sunny tropical place with a little drink in their hand, with a little umbrella in it, and they're kicking back like this and enjoying themselves because they had the foresight to see the possibility of what was going to happen with this company. I use that as an example to say Africa could definitely, if not definitely, is that Apple computer company. I'm using it as a metaphor, of course, that it's other groups are already seeing the foresight. They're seeing the future. They're seeing that Africa is the future that's going to boom. And if we as Black people in America set back in this tribal type of attitude and say, I'm not going to go over there, I'm not going to check out business opportunities, I'm just going to sit over here and I'm going to criticize Black people who want to go over there and invest and whatnot have you, I'm going to sit back. And you know what's going to happen while you sit back? There's going to be what's going to happen? Africa is going to boom. And then you're going to have Negroes in America sitting back talking about, I should have invested. I should have went over there and got me some land. You know what? There was a group of brothers that was talking about, let's come together as a conglomerate and get involved in Africa. And I could have, should have, would have, but no. And you're going to be looking on the outside, on the outside in, saying to yourself, God damn, what was I thinking? So that's how I kind of look at Africa, is that they're telling us already, the trends are saying that Africa is going to be, no, it's not going to be, it is going to be the place going into the future. Do you want to be left behind? I most certainly don't. But this is my analogy to how I see it, brother, because we're going to sit back and we're going to watch everyone else going over there benefiting, and we'll still be here in America talking about what we shoulda, coulda, woulda, didda, didn't do.
Well, you know, as Black people in America, right now we are being we're being left behind to starve, to suffer, and to die. That's what Du Bois wrote in his essay in 1934, A Nation Within a Nation, when he was being critical of Black leadership, because the Black leadership, due to their lack of vision, due to their cowardice, and due to their ignorance, were selling the masses of Black people out and leaving them behind to sink, suffer, and die. And these are Du Bois's words. And the reality is, that's what's happening to us right now in America. In fact, even as an entertainment class, we are slowly being replaced as entertainment in America is becoming more globalized, right? So a lot of acting roles that used to go to like African Americans, a lot of speaking roles that used to go to African Americans are now going directly to African talent from the continent, right? You got, you know, Trevor Noah doing the late night show. If you look at if you look at Hollywood right now, you got a lot of Africans from the UK or Africans directly from the continent that are getting these leading roles and getting these opportunities. And
you know, Netflix is about to cut a deal with helping to produce movies, because you know in Africa they have. I notice on my Netflix there's tons. I'm noticing a lot of movies that are produced in Africa with African actors, men and women, beautiful.
No, I can see that 100%.
Yeah, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The major problem that we have is none of these changes that we see going on right now, even changes that could look to be beneficial for us individually, none of these change the power dynamics for African people. None of them help us obtain power. And I feel like as conscious African people, that's what we need to be about. We need to be about obtaining power, because if we don't have power, we're not going to have a place on the world stage, and we're not going to have a place in Africa's future. In fact, Carter G. Woodson, 1934, writes a book called The Miseducation of the Negro. At the end of that book, he has a part where he's talking about after the Europeans went over and colonized Africa. You know that Africa was they started in 1884. It was fully colonized by 1915. They needed to figure out how to maintain their domination over their African colonies. Do you know where they got the game plan from? Carter G. Woodson says that these new colonizers came to America to study how the white man here in America has solved the race problem between the black man in America and the white man in America, and then went to implement those tools on the African continent. I say that to say this: from about 1969 to current day Black America, this United States government has been strategically interfering in all activities between Black people, specifically, especially between Black men and Black women, but for the purposes of diminishing this population. In order to do it, the number one institution that it has attacked has been the Black family. Now, I say that to say, if you look at the African continent right now, they have a similar goal to diminish the population on the African continent. And all of the plays that you've seen that they developed in the playbook for Africans here in America, they are currently using them in America. I mean, not in America, on the African continent, but they are being rolled out more rapidly and more aggressively. And our brothers and sisters on the continent don't even see it coming, right? So you may try to go over there to get like a stronghold, but what I'm saying is, if you don't have the vision to look to the future to ensure that the consciousness that exists that can develop a nation on the African continent, if we don't have that there, then we won't have a place there. And that's, you know, the work that we're doing with Afrocentricity International. That's why it's so important, right? Because your consciousness determines your behavior, right? If you can change the consciousness of a people, you can change the behavior of a people. And if you can change the behavior of a people, you can change the conditions of a people. Right, but it starts with consciousness, and that's where we operate as an organization, trying to raise the consciousness so that we can operate based on the right principles that will ensure our success and survival on the continent.
Okay, brother, I believe what you said is correct, because there's a saying that leadership reflects attitude. If we have the right leadership, we'll have our attitudes would be in a different direction. Now, let me ask you, what do you think it's going to take with the time that we have? Because I know that you have family and everything there, and I don't want to keep you all night, but with the time that we still have, what do you think it's going to take? Your organization is doing good works, but what do you think it's going to take for our people here in America to sort of take this in and understand how important this is and digest this and and see it as a positive, not a negative. What do you think it's going to take? I mean, there's light-minded folks like yourself. I feel the same way that you feel, but of course we have folks that are skeptical. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to give you some bad news here. And I'm you know, this is a bit of bitter medicine that a lot of people might not want to take. But the reality is, a lot of us ain't going to make it, bro. This is not so. We are purposeful in saying that at Afrocentricity International, we are a mass-based organization, meaning our chapters are everywhere. But we're not necessarily. We don't have millions and millions of people.
Okay.
All we need is a good 20 to 30, 20 to 50 people in Harlem, a good 20 to 50 people in Philly, a good 20 to 50 people in LA, all connected through the organization, working towards the aims and objectives of the organization. Because the masses of our people, I give you a good example. A lot of us are familiar with like the biblical stories, right?
Yes.
So it's a story of I think is it Noah? Noah is the one who built it. Who's the one who had to build the boat?
Oh, that was Noah. That was
okay. Noah. So Noah gets this message from God, right? He, in the future, at some future point, it's going to be a flood.
Yes.
A flood like you've never seen before. So what you need to do right now is prepare for that flood.
Yes.
I want you to build this boat. Here are the measurements, yada, yada, yada. These are the things you need to do. As Noah was building this boat, all the people in the town were partying. They were having orgies. They were drinking. They were laughing at Noah like, this nigga's a fool. What is he doing? Right? But on the day that the flood came, when it started to rain and Noah closed the doors, the masses of the people died. Right? They all drowned. And Noah, made it to safety. I say that to say this. Afrocentricity International, as an analogy, we are Noah's boat. The work that y'all are doing with BAIO, that's Noah's boat. Y'all are building infrastructure. Y'all have an organization where Africans who already understand that if we are not preparing for the future, we are going to die. Now, when that future day gets here, and the masses of people who did not prepare for this reality are not prepared for it, we understand what's going to happen. So, long story short, there is no waking up the masses, right? Because the way that consciousness occurs often happens by environmental factors, right? Like when I always say, when it's raining, we know enough to say we need to get shelter from the rain.
Exactly.
When it's cold, we know to put on, some layers of clothing. But right now, like our people, it's raining, it's storming, it's hailing. We're being beat down on all sides, and our people are just partying and being entertained and having fun and on social media. Don't want to sacrifice, don't want to donate, don't want to be disciplined, don't want to change anything. We are like children, and as a result, we're gonna reap the rewards of our inaction.
Well, so, there's a saying that there's two things when you have a movement. It's either a moment or a movement. It can't be one or the other. You're either having a moment or you're having a movement. And if you're having a movement requires a sacrifice. And unfortunately, not all of our people are willing to sacrifice the creature comforts of American society. Let's just be honest. Color television, internet, whatever. We don't want to give it up. But my thing is I agree with you that there's only going to be a small percentage of us that are going to be awake to this type of information, this kind of knowledge, or be able to want to take it in and be open to it to do something. And then there's going to be those that are going to be to the wayside, unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. And you just brought up a historical, biblical reference that people were laughing at Noah when he said the flood was coming. And it was only a minority of people like himself who made it through. So I think we are still living in that type of time, but I love my people, and I still want to see what's best for Black people. And while we are living in this country and dealing with all the ills and the issues in this country in terms of racism, all the profiling that goes on, particularly as it relates to Black men and what have you. Can you go ahead, brother Omowale, and let everybody know some of the major particular cities that Afrocentricity is located in?
Right now, in the U.S., we only have 3 chapters in the U.S. I believe we have the Philadelphia chapter, we have a chapter in Rochester, New York, and we have a newly launched chapter that they just started in Houston, in the Houston area. There's definitely a significant demand for our presence in different cities. Like I have people who reach out to me. There are people who reach out to our founders all the time. They want to bring a chapter there, but are you speaking?
No. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just shaking my head because I'm agreeing with what you're saying. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, like I was saying, one of the biggest challenges that we have in terms of growing the organization organically is that we don't have access to the Black church. The Black church is the only institution that our community owns and operates and organizes. And that's a resource that we don't have access to. And the reason why we don't have access to it is because it would be a contradiction for us to be trying to bring our people out of the church. It will be a contradiction for us to be trying to get our people to reclaim their heritage as African people or embrace African spirituality. And our meetings be organized in a church. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we are faced with that not many other organizations have had. Well, I'm lying. Because I guess when the Nation of Islam first came on the scene in the 30s and the 40s, they had to contend with the same issue, and they built their first temple in Detroit, their second temple in Chicago, and then through the work of Malcolm X, they were able to build temples all over this nation.
Let me ask you a question. What about at the college level? Is it any kind of way the organization can have a foothold on some of our historical Black colleges?
That is the student chapter strategy is definitely one that we have been giving thought to. Okay. So it's not something that we've ruled out. I'll say that.
Okay.
Are you affiliated with the college at all? Do you teach or?
I went to San Francisco State University. I'm not a teacher. I actually work in mental health, but I'm not a teacher. I do plan to teach.
Okay.
At a point in time, but because of being a member of a historical Black fraternity, I can connect into many universities here in California through various local chapters and brothers undergrad chapters that I can get information to.
Yes. What I'll say is we are similar to Marcus Garvey's organization, and that the only thing that you need to form a chapter in your local community is you need a place where you can hold public meetings to invite folks in, but more importantly, you just need 7 other conscious Africans to form the chapter with you. Okay. So if you have 7 people who are of like mind, yes, who are interested in building a chapter, definitely reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to help you get a chapter established wherever you are. And if you have any questions in general, reach out to me, especially about the fund. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot about the fund tonight. I really wanted to.
Well, let me do this. Can you just please? This is what we want to do before you leave, brother. Just once again, repeat any information that people need to know. However, let me just say this. In the description of this video, everybody, I put the brother's YouTube channel in there. I also put his links in the chat room right now to his channel. I also put the website link to the funding for the organization. I put some other information about the organization that you can read up on the organization, look at their website. And so I put that in the description of this video, brother. So just so you know that. But before you leave tonight, I want you to say and remind people anything that you want them to know. And if you could, maybe before you leave, briefly give a nice summary about the building fund, because I don't want you to leave without putting that out there.
No. I was going to say like that. So the most important thing that you all can do right now is go and check out the website. It's the African Heritage and Cultural Preservation Fund. The website is reclaimyourheritage.fund. Do you mind if I pull it up really quickly?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, you can. And guess what? I have the links. I'm gonna put the links in there while you show them. So let me. I'm gonna put your screen. I'm gonna make your screen dominant on here. There you go. The screen's all yours.
All right, cool. So they can see the page here while I'm talking.
Yeah. So now they can see what you show them. I'm gonna put links in the chat room.
All right. So yeah, this is the website. It's the African Heritage and Cultural Preservation Fund. We launched this fund back on the 25th of November. So this is actually 30 days since we launched the fund. These are basically the funds that we've raised to date.
Let me see. Let me see. I need to share this on. Do I need to share this on the screen? Yeah, I need to.
I can share my screen if you can.
Yeah, because I can't. I don't think we can see what you're showing. Go ahead and see if you can share your screen. Because I clicked to make your screen. Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. So what I was saying was, this is the website. It's reclaimyourheritage.fund. We launched this fund back on the 25th of November, so we're 30 days since we launched. Right now, we are in the first 100 days of the fund, so we have basically 100-day campaign where we're trying to get 1,000 people to donate, to make a $100 contribution within the first 100 days of the fund. But if you don't want to take part in the 100-day challenge, you can donate as much or as little as you like. You know what I mean? You can donate as little as $5 to the fund, or anything. All donations are most certainly and definitely appreciated. You can read everything about the fund right here on our website. Check out the Our Story tab, which just gives you a bit of the information about our founder, as well as our mission and vision as an organization or as a fund. The approach to how we're going to use the finances. But the most important thing that I want to share with you here really quickly is this is the first project that we've already started. As you can see, we're already building in the Ivory Coast. So we started this, the building for this actually started last April. So April of 2017, I believe we started the building for this project, or maybe April of 2018. What was the date? Yeah, okay. So April of 2018, we started building for our first location for the African Heritage and Cultural Preservation Institute. The people that you see here, these are our brothers and sisters who are members of the chapter in the Ivory Coast. So Afrocentricity International, our Ivory Coast chapter. And the importance of this institute, like I was telling the brother information man, I'll stop sharing right here. But yeah, the importance of the institute is the fact that when we look right now at the African continent, like I mentioned earlier, China has 48 Confucius Institutes that they have built across the African continent for the purpose of promoting Chinese culture, promoting Chinese language, so that they can extend Chinese influence across the continent.
See?
America, France, Russia has similar institutes that they have built all across the African continent. So our question is, where are the institutes that we are building to preserve African culture and to ensure that African people can exercise influence on our homeland? And as of right now, none exists, right? So we're looking to build the first one, but there will be many more, but we can't do it without the support of our people. So I'm definitely asking our brothers and sisters in the audience to, if you have the resources to give, definitely make a donation. But if you can't, just share, share this video, share the website. There's a video, a promo video on the homepage of our website. Definitely check it out and share that as well. But we need all the help that we can get.
Yeah, definitely everybody out there, definitely share this video on your social media. Like the brother said, you can donate a little to high amounts of money. It's a building fund. So definitely check out the website, read it for yourself. Is there a number is there a way on the website? Is there a way that they can call someone?
There's a get in touch form on the website. So if you just go to that page, like you can just put your information in there and somebody will be in contact with you within 24 hours.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, brother, I thank you for being here with me tonight, brother. I know it's a quote unquote holiday and people with their family. I'm glad that we were able to do this. But before we go though, brother, I'm probably already saying something that you've already done. Have you been interviewed by Brother Dynas?
So I did. He was actually the first person. So he interviewed us. We launched on the 25th of November. He got us an interview on the 30th of November.
Okay.
So I'm really trying to all the folks on Black YouTube who are willing to, extend their platform. We got a chance to go on, of course, George Macon, Dynas Hamir, Black News 102 with Brother Sanetta, now on your channel. Yeah, any other platforms.
This is what I'm gonna do, brother, because you know that I'm a member of the BAIO. I'm going to, every time I do a video or make a video, I'm gonna drop the information of your organization in my description of all my videos, just like I do with the BAIO, so that people will see it always. So I will, and then there will be times, because I do the same, I do these taggings where I will tag a description with you all in there, where I'll put a hashtag every now and then on some of my videos. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I will go on the website myself and give a donation. And I also will be in contact with you, brother, from time to time. I may have to bring you, well, not may have to. I want to.
No, definitely. I would love to come back.
And this is, and another thing too, I want to do with you, brother. I'm sorry. I will from time to time, brother, when I bring like-minded brothers on, like Brother George, and I have panels. Don't be surprised if you see me sending you hangout links to join some of my live streams with like-minded brothers like yourself.
Okay.
Yes. Definitely. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry if I cut you off there. I'm sorry about that.
No, I was just saying I'm very appreciative of this opportunity. You know what I mean? We don't realize how big of a deal these YouTube platforms are to these independently owned and run YouTube platforms to get access to our people. In terms of like Black media, once in the 90s, you had a significant amount of independent Black media.
Yes.
But today, really all that we have is these YouTube channels, right? So this is a big deal. So what I would love to see, brothers such as yourself, Brother Dynas, like the Philip Vise, Sanetta, like all of y'all figuring out how y'all can create some type of conglomerate or council to protect one another.
Okay.
Right, because I saw what happened to the brother Ben X,
yes,
where he took his channel, and y'all should be able to say, send a message. This is the Black YouTube Council. We're sending a message to YouTube headquarters on behalf of Brother Ben X. Through this council, we represent and gross 30 million, subscribers. Between the 60 of us, we have 30 million subscribers. We want our brother's channel to be reinstated, and here's why. But y'all can only do that through an organized effort, and I would like to see y'all do that.
Let me tell you what. It's funny you bring up Brother Ben X. Brother Ben X was on my channel just a week ago. I interviewed him. I did a video where I was very upset about what happened to him. He came into the chat room. We got together and did a live video, and through all the efforts of, guess what's happened? He got a second channel, and he's got he's got people supporting his channel.
Yeah.
So he's trying to rebuild it back up. I brought him on my platform. You're absolutely right. It's hollering throughout Black YouTube. Everyone is going over there and supporting the brother. So you're absolutely right. This is what I want to do, brother. Have you been on, because Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson, he interviews everybody, all different backgrounds, all different perspectives. Have you been on his show to do an interview?
I haven't. I would love to go on this show though.
This is what I'm going to do for you, brother, because I communicate with him personally, because he gets he gets a lot of people watching, and I want you. And this video tonight, I'm going to viral this video, so it's going to get pushed out further. The numbers are going to go up on this video when I get finished viraling it. But I'm going to contact Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson personally. He's in, matter of fact, he's in Uganda right now.
Okay.
I'm going to contact him, and I'm going to demand, not demand, me and him are really cool. You will be on his show, if not this week, next, you're going to be on his show very soon. Because
I appreciate that.
Because the reason why I want you on his show, because he brings his show gets big numbers like Phil of the Advice show. Have you been on Phil's show?
I have not.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do for you, brother. Because of my connections to O'Shea, he's got connection to Phil. I've got Phil's email. I'm going to talk to O'Shea. We're going to try to see if we can get you not only on O'Shea's channel, but we're going to get you on Phil the Advice show. So I'm going to
appreciate it.
I'm going to see what I can do to work behind the scenes with people that I know, some big YouTubers that I know, to get you on both those platforms. I feel I can get you on O'Shea's platform first, and then we'll connect to Phil and get you on his platform as well. Okay, that's where because we need to get you on there. And brother George Macomb, me and him, we be on the Sunday Rumbles all the time. He knows O'Shea as well, so this ain't nothing but a chicken wing. We're gonna get you on there, and we're gonna make Phil the Advice show aware of you and your organization, brother. So I appreciate you being here, brother Omowale. Thank you for being here. And any last words you have, brother?
No, just peace to the chat room. Peace to everybody that was watching tonight. If you need to get in contact with me, you can contact me at OMOWALE. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay.
Definitely hit me up. I just appreciate the opportunity to come on. So
I appreciate you being here, and we got to have you back. But my first thing that I need to do for you, brother, is I need to get in contact, make my contacts with folks so that you can get on those platforms and continue the good work that you're doing in your organization. And I appreciate you being here. So with that said, everybody out there, thank you. Brother Omowale was a good guest. He was a gracious guest tonight, giving up his time, talking about the organization. Afrocentricity is a beautiful organization. I think y'all need to support this brother and what he's doing. Tell people of like-minded. So if you know people that are out there that are really Pan-African, that are very pro-African, that believe in this type of have this kind of passion, should I say, share this video with people. Share it with everybody. I thank everybody for being out there. Brother, what I'm going to do, if you don't have any last words, I'm going to end the show and put the avatar back up, play the music in the whole 9 yards. That's the kind of thing I do.
All right, brother.
What I may do, I think I'm going to do a Q&A for a little while with a brother that I'm very close with, Brother Art, and I'm going to bring him on right now to do a Q&A. We're going to just talk about his thoughts about the interview because he likes stuff like this, brother. So,
okay.
Brother, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here, brother.
All right. Peace.
Peace, brother.
All right.
All right. Peace to you. Let me share my screen now. Woo, that was a great interview, y'all. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. This was great tonight. Really was. Ooh. First of all, let me bring my man. Let me stop that right there. Let me bring Art in real quick. Art, if you're out there, brother, come on in. Let's talk about it. While I bring you in real quick, brother, let me go back to sharing the screen again and doing the usual thing, because this was a great interview tonight, everybody. I appreciate everybody that came over. I know it's a holiday. People are with their family. And for you guys to be in there, checking out what's happening, it's much appreciated. It's much respected. Believe it or not, it is respected. Very much so. I appreciate you.
It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, go join the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the info show. You're listening. Show. It's the info, man. You can call them information info, man. It's the info. It's the info. You're listening to Information Man. You're listening to Information Man. You're listening.
You're listening to Information Man. Brother Art, I'm glad that you're here, brother. What did you think about the interview?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was multitasking and trying to stay tuned at the same time. It's a lot of my roots that he was covering, so very valuable information. I like the fact that he was able to give references. That was very valuable. I can tell that the chat was taking it in. Yeah, it was very valuable.
Well, I appreciate you coming over. I know we were over at Underrated Darkness channel earlier today, but appreciate you coming over. I just wanted to get your opinion because I respect your opinion, brother. And I'm gonna definitely try to see if I can get this brother on Field of the Advise show and get him on O'Shea. I'm gonna use those behind the scenes connections to try to see if the brother can get him on there, because I just think that I know I recognize that everybody is not into the Back to Africa thing, and I don't necessarily think he was trying to say that we got to go back there, but I do think that in the analogy that I made about the fact that it's almost like looking at a company that blows up, and if we sit back and watch something blow up, we're going to look at ourselves and say, damn, why didn't I invest? Why didn't I, and I know that everybody is not going to go over there and invest. And I know everybody's not going to move there. I'm realistic. And I know that everybody may not have money to invest. That's understandable. But I think if you heard what he said, what did you think about that, Art, when he said that every other group is getting a foothold and that the Chinese are putting their culture on the continent?
Yeah, because if you can listen to what he's saying and then listen to what Lisa Cabrera is breaking down, China, even though they got resources and things of that nature, they're still looking at 2/3 male, 1/3 female of their society.
Yeah.
So I mean, they don't have much time left either. So they're trying to do whatever they can outside of their world and plant their feet in other people's places.
Exactly.
So I don't know how they'll be able to pull that off with Africa, because they're doing a lot of race mixing over there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get so many Tiger Woods, it's still gonna be black. Okay, so I don't know if they're trying to get those kind of people and get them indoctrinated. But as far as people putting a foothold on the continent, the things that they have to realize is that people are trying to return home. All people, but they try to come home and still have some kind of control over it, which is a no. Nature's not going to go for that. Yeah, but the thing that was really interesting was that he said that once if you try to build some kind of foundation other than Africa, then basically you have no foundation. That was pretty powerful, because that's going physical and spiritual.
Exactly.
Because you're trying to be relevant here with what was handed to you. And don't get me wrong, making lemonade out of lemons, that's one thing. But when you have access to the root and the tree, then that shit speaks volumes. I don't know why. I mean, we got more opportunities to really dig deep into that, but for some reason, even though some people say, "Oh, I got my people from here, and I have great grandparents that are born here, and they're indigenous," and all these different things they try to use, you still cannot deny the African connection. Exactly. You can't deny it. But go ahead, brother.
What I want to do is I'm going to close it out. Let me just say what's up to Brother Duvian. We got Matt D in there. We got Vonda Harris. Thank you for being here, sister. We got Andrew Blue Bridge Jr. that came in. Thank you for being here. One Detroit came in. What's going on, One Detroit? We got Evovo. Thank you for being here. I'm away. That brother was fantastic. We got Brother Rob in the house. We got Blacksmith Finance. Thank you for being here. We got Tony Smith for is here. Thank you. Oh, we got Cap PY2 Cap PY2 Cap. I love saying that. Thank you for being here. We got Darius Matthews that's in the house. Darius Matthews has been in the house. Pretty good brother. I'm gonna probably mod Darius Matthews up at some point in time very soon. Let me see who else we got in the house. We got Hodge. There's another brother that I'm probably gonna mod up pretty soon. Hodge has been pretty consistent with a brother and with supporting the channel, and I appreciate that. Let's see. We got Gigi was in the house. Gigi Googles, a followable one. The sister was in the house. We got the Revolutionary was in the house. Thanks a lot, Revolutionary. I'm glad that you came over. That was nice of you. Okay, we got Mobuto came in the house. I appreciate that. I'm just strolling up. We got Judah Star. And we got, of course, you, Art, and Big L. Big L's been following me for a long time. We got Little Rock in the house. Appreciate you being here. Oh, we got the guy from Texas. I like that guy. George Macomb was in the house tonight. We got King Hebrew. Shirley Scott was in the house tonight. Wow. Silks BB Scratcher. We had Life Machine Power that was in the house tonight. I know he's probably sleeping right now. And we got, let's see, who else is up here? That's it. Everybody, I thank you for being here. Brother Art, I thank you for coming on. I think I'm gonna shut it down, brother. It's been a busy weekend of live streaming for me, and I think I'm gonna need to relax a little bit. This was a great. I enjoyed interviewing this brother and hearing this brother speak. He really blew me away when he talked about religion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
About the
spirituality.
Yeah, we talked about the church, the first church. Actually was not a church that was based in Christianity. That was that blew me away in terms of the presence here in this world that we live in called North America or America. But that was really good information that the brother gave up. And he runs with brother George Macomb. That's where I spotted him at. George Macomb, he cooks up some good shows and programs over there. So everybody make sure y'all check out brother George Macomb's channel as well. So with that said, Art, I'm going to get ready to close it out. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, not a problem, fam.
And everybody out there, thank you very much for being here tonight. I'm just going to get ready to close it out. You know how I do it. I'm going to play my last little bit of tunes for you. And, the elder called me this morning, Art. That's what I had to tell you. Mm-hmm. He told me he apologized. He fell asleep last night when we were doing that live stream with him.
Oh, that's understandable. So
and then I was talking to him. I said, yeah, I'm just glad that everything's okay. And then he has a home computer, and I actually talked to him on the phone, and I'm trying to help him understand how to manipulate his studio, his creative studio on the YouTube. So there's some things that he doesn't know that he should be benefiting from. So I'm going to be helping the elder out with that. He discovered some things that he didn't know, and he kind of learned how he was he kind of learned a little bit how he can do a Google Hangout himself. So I'm gonna work with the elder and try to get him up to speed on some of that stuff. I was talking to him early this morning, so I want to say shout out to the elder. And the elder always says that lovely word that we like.
Yeah, we got to reach out to all of them, to try to make sure they have access to us, because a lot of us can't just fly to meet them. We can, it'd be good to get the Google Hangout just to get some wisdom from them.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got Poetic Kales that just came in. Where you been all night, sister?
We got ATL, huh?
Yeah, where she been? Anyway, and George, let me see. George said, peace to you. Hey, I should have brought George on the panel to see if he want to say a few words.
George Macon. Yeah, that's a good brother, man.
I'm gonna bring him on right now before I end anything. I gotta let him say some words to the people.
Plus, it's ABL's fault, George.
Yeah, it is always ABL's fault. It's always, and it's gonna always be his fault. Okay, George, come on in for a moment, brother, and talk to me. We got to get this brother on O'Shea's channel. We got to get this brother on Phil of the Advice show too, brother. Come on in, George, make him come on in. Like the Price is Right. Come on down. Come on in, brother.
Yeah, so that's been my goal, man. Like you heard me on the other panels. I just listen in and find out what I can contribute. Cause I sure don't have a lot of money.
Okay. You know what? George just asked us did we see his stream earlier, and my question is no, I didn't.
I have, George. It was about LeBron James, right?
Yeah. Okay. You know what, George? Right after I end this stream, I'm gonna go over to your channel and start watching it immediately. But come on the panel for just a minute, brother. Let's hear your voice and say a few words, and then we're gonna put a crescendo and end it. Come on.
It's like the church where you don't feel like getting up to testify.
Yeah.
Come on, you new around here.
Come on and testify.
He said send it to it. He said send it to his email.
Send it to his email. I already did. What is he talking? Well, okay, I'll send it to your email. See, George, I got you in my system, so it should have already went to your email. But I'll do it again. Let me go into my email and copy and paste my link because I always send a link to myself.
What's up with your boys Golden State, man?
You know what, brother? Since I got rid of my cable, I haven't been keeping up with what's going on with sports.
Well, you don't want to see this. It's kind of ugly. So
you gotta tell me what's going on, brother. Oh, wait a minute. O'Shea's doing a Christmas Rumble right now. He probably sent me a link. I am back in the States. White man. He says this. I'm reading his email. This is from O'Shea Duke. He said, "I'm back in the States. The white man held me back. Let me do the Rumble tonight. Who is down for the Rumble? I guess I'll be down, maybe for a little while. I am okay." He's probably already doing it right now, but let me send George the link.
Yeah, plus I'm gonna go support JT too a little later.
Yeah, I'm gonna go support him too. I probably should just chill and not get on any live streams, man. I've been doing them all weekend. So let me find George's email. Let me see this here. Let's see, George. Oh, there it is right there. Okay.
If the Lakers win this game tonight, brother, they're going to start looking at, man, people going to start getting nervous.
Oh, about the Warriors? The Warriors are not looking too good these days?
They were looking real bad, but they're catching up. But it looks like they might have to really try to gut this out just to win.
Oh, you talking about they're just tonight's game.
Yeah, just a nice game.
Oh, okay.
Usually the Christmas games are the ones that people determine if it's going to be a series type thing.
Okay, you was making me think that the Warriors, somebody didn't broke their legs or something.
No, everybody's playing, but LeBron is injured. Well, I'm over here doing sports casting on your show. Yeah, LeBron is injured, and the Lakers are still holding on, man. I'm like, dang.
I don't know what's wrong with my. I don't know what's wrong with my. Let me see here. I gotta figure this out. What am I doing? Let me see. George Macon.
Oh, Giggles is still around. Okay, I didn't know Gigi was here.
Yeah, she's still around. Why am I having a hard time finding this brother's? I got his email, but my thing is tripping for some reason. Oh, there it is, right?
Yeah. He said it's his Gmail.
Yeah, is it yeah, I see it right here. Let me copy and paste this. Okay, I know what I need to do. All I got to do is forward it. I forgot that I can forward it on this system here. So let me go into this system.
Dude, I can't believe it. It's like 100 to 83.
So they're getting their butt kicked, basically. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, but they were catching up, but for some reason I can tell that the Lakers found a way to shut down them threes. That's what happened. Or actually, I think they moved them out of there. I've seen like Luke found a way to get them out of their position.
Okay.
And shoot threes where they're not comfortable. Pretty clever.
Yeah. Sounds pretty. I just haven't been watching sports lately, man. I just and I would like to keep up with what's going on, you know, to be quite honest. But you know, I love my sports. It was a hard. Oh, okay, I found his email. It was a hard sacrifice for me, but I'll probably re-up my cable in a little bit. Probably just get the sports package or whatever. You know, YouTube actually has some sort of cable package, brother. That's a lot cheaper than Comcast.
Hmm. Yeah, only time I watch sports is like Laker games, and probably that's about it. I haven't really got. I had to get back into the football since LA got a couple of football teams now. So
Hey George, I just sent you the link, brother. So hopefully you get it. Let me see.
she said, "Cat is on the roof." Oh, take it away, George.
You know, I think O'Shea's trying to fire it up. He told me that he gonna fire it up at 9 p.m. So that's
because George said he put the email in the chat. You want to tell him to take it away?
Here I'll send it to him again just to make sure I had it right. But he could take it away now because I already cut and pasted. I pasted it, so I'll just send it to him again. But we ain't gonna be on here much.
Oh, he's here.
Okay, good. I just want to rap with him a little bit. You know, it's been a minute. Let me see here. Where the hell am I at on my thing here? All right, what's going on, brother George?
Peace. Hold on. Let me get this off of here. Hey, what's happening?
All right, brother. Let me just say to you, man, I enjoyed interviewing that brother. And I think that we need to try to see if we can get him on O'Shea for an interview, and even Phil. They got
yeah. I was already setting up for O'Shea. Phil was the challenge, though. I've been reaching out to him. I don't know what's up with Phil.
Yeah, Phil told me the last time I talked to him that he was going to be out of town or out of the country. I don't know, but we need to get him on Phil because he needs to get more and more exposure, you know, in terms of what the brother's trying to do in the organization. Because I like what he's talking about, what they're doing.
Yeah, that's my young guy, man. He from the town, man. He out of the Malefe Asante Institute down there in Germantown. Malefe Asante